Hello everybody and welcome to episode 9 of this series where I teach you how to build a redstone computer. We're almost there. We need to tackle just one more component, but it's the most complicated one, the control unit. So in preparation of this video I went over everything I needed to explain, and what I found out was that it's actually not as hard as I remembered it to be. So that's a positive note. But anyway, what is the control unit? So the control unit exists of two parts. This pink part, that's more actually the ROM, read-only memory, than the control unit. This purple unit is more the control unit itself, but I look at that that's part also of it. So what role does it serve? Well, we still have a problem. We all have these components sitting around, but without activating them manually, they won't do anything. So we need a component to guide all the other components, and that's where the control unit comes in. Control unit. So, how does it work? You have all these different lines that go right underneath here, and then follow these gold block lines that go to all the different components. Those are the control lines. Every line represents one action that it can take. For example, this line will write whatever is here onto the ALU. That's an example. Now, all the different things we went over in the past episodes, they are all represented with a golden line. Let's get over all of them. So yeah, here it's maybe a little bit easier. The error overflow, that's from the ALU. If the sum of the two inputs is too big, then this line will activate. Next one is disable for program. That's something for the control unit, so I'll cover that in a minute. The clear bus. So this line is the most interesting of all, I would say. This line, I think it's this one. Line is judging it also as well. I don't know. Anyway, it activates this line, this over here, and this over here. So I went over this in the bus episode, last episode. This will make sure that nothing is stored in the bus, or 0000. Next. Input 1, input 2, input 3, input 4. This is the absolute value from the input registers. So those will be loaded onto here. I don't know if you could see that plugged in, or that the screen was a little bit darker. Doesn't matter. So those are inputs. I always forgot, it's a little bit annoying to see if I activate that one. Yeah, it's over here, and you need to look at. So input 1 is the least big number, so the smallest number, actually the most right number. So you need to actually look at it this way. If you are building this yourself, I would recommend making this more logical. So input 1, 2, 3, and 4. Read input, so that will just put that value onto the bus. Write ALU register A, that was my previous example. Write ALU register B, that's just the same but for the other register. Read ALU will put the sum of the two inputs onto the bus. Read from RAM will put whatever register you're looking at onto the bus. Oh, where am I? Write RAM. This will write whatever is on the bus on whichever register you're looking at. From from the registers, of course. In the beginning, I named this RAM, but I don't actually have RAM. That is ROM. Those are registers. Small difference, but there is one. I explained the difference in my registers episode. Alright, RAM here. Others 1 and others 2, that's where you control which register you're looking at with. Hold, that's also where you control units, and reset, same. So first I'll just quickly go over the entire control unit and explain how each part works, and then I'll explain it in more detail. So I'll do it actually from where it ends to the beginning. I don't know why, but it just seems more logical. So like I said, these are all the lines to power all the different components, to activate all the different components. These lines are different instances. It's kind of hard to explain, but what it does, for example, if you deactivate actually this line, then you can store something on it with these redstone torches to activate certain lines. So what will happen is, for example, here you have this redstone torch and this redstone torch. So what this will do is, from the moment this line gets deactivated, these redstone torches go on and activate these lines, which then power the different components. Then next, this line will go on again, and this line will go off, and so you can run down the entire program. So imagine these as different program lines. Now, don't look at this yet. This part with the observers, that's a counter. So that will start, it has 3 bits, so that will start at 0, 0, 0. And every time it gets an input, it will jump 1 bit forward. So the next one will be 0, 0, 1. And then this goes into a multiplexer, I think that's the name. So what this multiplexer does is, of course, this is 3 bits and you can store 8 different lines of data on it, but we do need 8 separate lines, so it will decode them into the 8 different lines. I also explained this in my registers episode, so if you want to know how that works, go to that episode. So that's this component. I'll explain that when I explain it in more detail. That component as well, and then this diamond component. This is the clock. This will you can control how long it takes between the different. I mean, you can control how long it takes before it switches, but after a certain of time, this line will go off, and then after the same amount of time, it will go back on. And what this will do, it will power this observer and activating this counter, which will activate the multiplexer, which will deactivate these lines, which will activate the different lines you want to activate. So that's a quick rundown of the entire component. So now I'll run over all the different components but in more detail. First, the ROM. So read-only memory. You could go for RAM, so you can automatically input different programs, but that's quite hard. So I went from 4 ROM. So if I want to change the program, I need to manually go in there and place the redstone torches. I already explained actually how this works. It's very simple. So like I said, you have all these different lines, and then all the other lines that go crisscross, so one is horizontal, one is vertical. It's best to align the lines for the control lines to be easier to get them to all the different components. If I had taken these lines, of course, make them a little bit longer, As a control lines, that would be quite annoying because for some I would need to make a 180 to over here, for example. Now that's not as big as a problem. So always one space in between, and where you have overlap, you can place the redstone torches. So how do you make sure that all of them are powered? Well, that's not that hard, it's just a redstone torch. How I did it here is a little bit no, this is something else, but you might ask, there is no redstone torch here. Well, that's not really a problem, because here this will already output actually the opposite of what you need. So in this case, this line is actually activated, although it is off. Here with the following system it goes on again, but again that's for in a few minutes, so you don't need to invert it. Also watch out that you don't place any blocks above these redstone torches, because I did it and it messed up the entire thing, because then it will power this line again and you won't have a good time. Of course, don't forget to put your repeaters. Also don't put your repeaters above the redstone torches. That's also not a good idea, because that won't power the redstone torches. And oh yeah, and one thing I would recommend, putting signs on different lines, so you don't have to go back here. Oh, what's that line? Okay, that's that line, and get on with it. No, just put a sign over here, and it's a lot easier. Okay, so that is actually it. Really easy. Next one. The next one is one that you also already seen. The multiplexer over there in the registers. Go to that video to watch it, because I won't explain it entirety again. Just quick. You have the 8, so you have the 3 lines that represent 8 bits, but you need 8 separate lines. So this is basically a decoder for those 3 lines. It powers all the lines that don't need to be activated, and then you invert it, of course now not. Then you invert all the lines and you get the output. That's basically how it works, but I explain it in much more detail in the register episode. This is also something different that I'll explain in a minute, and this is the counter. I'll explain that now. So the counter, what it does is every time it gets an input from over here, this observer activates and it powers the machine once. Every time that the machine is powered, it will move up 1 bit, so now it's 000, that will become 001, then it will be 010, 011, so it counts. Well, how it works, I didn't design it myself, it's quite a clever system. So this is a quite variation to actually the original. I'll explain why I changed it up a bit, but these red concrete blocks mean it's not. It's a 0, and the screen means it's a 1. So this lever is for powering the circuit, so causing an update. Each time I power it, this sticky piston extended and retracted this observer, changing this 0 to a 1. But if I update it again, remember this is a 1-tick pulse, so now it will spit out the observer and this will become a 0 again. But by doing that, you power this sticky piston, which retracts this observer. And if you do it again, this sticky piston again retracts this observer, because the observer only gives an output when it's pulled back, so not over here. That's why it doesn't power this one. So now it's 1 1. And if I do it again, this observer will spit out, which will power this sticky piston, which will spit out this observer, which will power this sticky piston, which will attack that observer. And that's basically it. And that's how it comes. Like I said, really clever system. I had the same idea in mind, but couldn't execute it exactly the right way. And when it's when it's done, I mean when it's 1 1 1 1, the next one will be 0. So what it will do, spit out the observer power, spit out, power, spit out, power, spit out, and this one will just stay here. And it's back to 0 0 0. But the problem was, I couldn't really take a redstone output out of this. So what I did is, instead of observer directly, first a honey block. I think this needs to be a honey block, because this is transparent and slime block is not. I don't exactly remember why, but I would do it for certainty, because I think slime block will cause issues. Then after that, a honey block, a observer like normal, and a redstone block at the side to power the different lines. Okay, this is annoying me. Yeah, I want to it. That actually needs to be reversed. It doesn't. Okay, I'm autistic. Not really, but kinda. Bam. And so that's the counter. This was part 1. In part 2 we'll cover the last things. That will be the last episode. Thank you for watching, and I hope we'll see you next week, because it's the very last episode then. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned something from it. If you did, please consider subscribing and liking. It would really, really, really make my day. I hope you have a good day, and bye!